The Council's deception. Ambassador Elena Chen stood in the vast crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council, her reflection multiplying infinitely in the prismatic walls. The room held representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations, yet humanity's single delegate commanded attention through her unwavering stance. She had come to the Council's headquarters on Nexus Prime expecting peace negotiations, but the air tasted of betrayal. The terms are simple. Ambassador Chen, spoke High Counselor Vextar, his tentacled form undulating with barely concealed satisfaction. Earth will surrender its colonies in the Orion sector, disable its jump drives, and submit to Council oversight. In return, we offer protection. Chen's dark eyes narrowed. 3 months of negotiations had led to this moment, and every instinct screamed that something was wrong. The other Council members, the insectoid Kretak, the crystalline shards, the aquatic Meros, all watched with unusual intensity. Their earlier friendliness had evaporated like morning mist. Protection from whom, exactly? Chen asked, her voice cutting through the chamber's acoustic perfection. We've maintained peaceful relations with all member species for 30 years. The Shard ambassador's facets flickered in what Chen recognized as amusement. From yourselves, of course. Humanity's rapid expansion threatens galactic stability. Chen's neural implant buzzed, an encrypted message from Earth intelligence. Her expression remained neutral as data flooded her consciousness. Intercepted communications, secret military buildups, a conspiracy involving 70% of Council species. They hadn't come to negotiate. They'd come to demand surrender before launching a coordinated assault on human space. I see, Chen said slowly, buying time as she processed the intelligence. The Council had been planning this for years, using peace talks as cover while positioning their forces. And if Earth refuses these generous terms, Vextar's bioluminescent patches flared. Then the Council will have no choice but to enforce peace through military action. Your fleet of 800 ships cannot stand against our combined forces of 30,000 vessels. 800 ships. Chen almost smiled. They thought that was Earth's entire fleet. The intelligence report confirmed what she'd suspected. The Council had been fooled by humanity's careful misdirection. While Earth openly maintained a modest defensive force, they'd spent 2 decades building something far more formidable in the hidden shipyards of the Kuiper Belt. I need to consult with my government, Chen said, activating her quantum communicator. The device, no larger than a pen, established an instant connection to Earth despite the 1,000 light-years of distance, a technology the Council believed humans hadn't yet mastered. President Marcus Williams appeared as a hologram visible only to Chen. His face was grim. We've been monitoring everything, Elena. Operation Iron Hurricane is ready. Give them one last chance. Chen nodded imperceptibly and turned back to the assembled Council. Earth makes a counteroffer. Withdraw your fleets from our borders, abandon these demands, and we continue as peaceful members of the galactic community. Laughter rippled through the chamber, a dozen different species expressing mirth in their unique ways. The Kretak delegate clicked his mandibles. You humans never cease to amuse. You have 12 hours to accept our terms or face the consequences. Very well, Chen said, her voice steady. But know this, humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and the challenge of interstellar travel. We've faced extinction and emerged stronger each time. If you proceed with this betrayal, you will discover why we are called the warrior species in your ancient databases. More laughter, louder this time. They thought her words were empty bravado. The Council members began filing out, already discussing the division of human territories among themselves. Chen remained in the chamber after the others left, staring at the stars visible through the transparent ceiling. She activated her communicator again. Admiral Zhang, execute contingency Omega. The Council has chosen war. Confirmed, Ambassador. The fleet moves in 6 hours. Will you be clear? I'll take the emergency shuttle. Make sure nothing remains of their military infrastructure. As Chen walked through the council's opulent corridors for the last time, she passed ancient murals depicting the rise of galactic civilization. Soon, these halls would learn why humanity had spent decades pretending to be weaker than they were. The council thought they were dealing with prey. They were about to discover they had awakened a sleeping giant. The human embassy's emergency protocols activated the moment Chen crossed its threshold. Staff members moved with practiced efficiency, destroying sensitive documents and preparing for immediate evacuation. Within an hour, the entire human delegation had boarded a sleek diplomatic courier, one of the few ships equipped with humanity's true FTL technology. Ambassador, her aide, James Kumar, approached with a tablet. We've received confirmations from all hidden installations. Operation Iron Hurricane is proceeding. The Ghost Fleet is powering up. Chen took the tablet, reviewing the data. 45,000 warships, hidden in hollowed-out asteroids and dark matter clouds throughout human space, were coming online. Each vessel incorporated reverse-engineered technology from a dozen species, improved and refined by human ingenuity. The Council's spies had seen only what humanity wanted them to see. What about civilian evacuations? Already underway. Colony worlds are implementing Protocol 7. Deep bunkers and planetary shields are activating. We'll take losses, but most of our population will survive the initial assault. Chen nodded, settling into her command chair as the courier's engines hummed to life. Through the viewports, she watched Nexus Prime shrink into the distance. The planet's 14 moons housed the Council's primary fleet bases, soon to be humanity's first targets. Ambassador Chen to all human forces, she spoke into the ship's communication system. The Galactic Council has betrayed the trust we placed in them. They spent years planning our destruction while speaking of peace. They believe our visible fleet of 800 ships represents our entire strength. Tonight, we show them the cost of their deception. Across human space, her words reach every warship, every colony, every hidden base. Humanity had learned from its history. Never again would they be caught unprepared. The Council thought they were launching a surprise attack. Instead, they had triggered a response 3 decades in the making. As the courier jumped to hyperspace, Chen's final message to Earth Command was simple. The trap is sprung. May God help them all. Behind her, in the space around Nexus Prime, Council forces began their final preparations for what they believed would be an easy victory. 7 species had committed their entire fleets to the operation. They had studied human tactics, analyzed human weapons, calculated human responses. They had accounted for everything except one critical factor. They had never seen humanity truly go to war. In the deep void between stars, Ghost Fleet commanders received their orders. Weapons charged, engines roared to life. Humanity's true armada began its journey, not to defend, but to ensure that those who orchestrated this betrayal would never threaten Earth again. The Council had made a fatal error. They had mistaken humanity's preference for peace as weakness. They had interpreted Earth's diplomatic patience as submission. They had counted ships and measured weapons, but failed to understand the most dangerous aspect of the species they now faced. Humans learned from their mistakes, and they never forgot a betrayal. As Admiral Zhang reviewed the battle plans in his flagship's war room, he thought of Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom. All warfare is based on deception. The Council had attempted to deceive humanity. Now they would learn that humans had mastered that art long before they reached the stars. The countdown began. In 6 hours, the largest fleet in human history would emerge from the shadows. In 6 hours, the Galactic Council would understand why humanity had seemed so confident despite being outnumbered. In 6 hours, the galaxy would witness what happened when Earth's children were pushed too far. Chen watched the stars blur past her viewport, knowing that by tomorrow, the political landscape of the galaxy would be forever changed. The Council had chosen war, believing they faced a young, inexperienced species. They were about to discover that humanity's youth was not a weakness, it was their greatest strength. Young enough to adapt, old enough to remember, and angry enough to ensure this betrayal would be the Council's last. Earth's unstoppable fury. Admiral John Way stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution, humanity's largest dreadnought, as his fleet emerged from hyperspace. 45,000 warships materialized around Nexus Prime like sharks rising from dark waters. The Council's sensor networks, designed to detect incoming threats, remained silent. Humanity's phase shift technology rendered their ships invisible until the moment of attack. All wings report ready, Admiral. Commander Sarah Mitchell announced, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. The Council fleet is exactly where intelligence predicted. They're still assembling for their assault on Earth. Zhang studied the holographic battlefield. 30,000 Council ships clustered around the planet's moons, organized into the traditional formation that had won them countless battles. They relied on overwhelming numbers and standardized tactics, a doctrine that hadn't changed in millennia. Execute Phase 1. Priority targets are their command vessels and communication arrays. I want them blind and leaderless in the first 60 seconds. The human fleet struck with surgical precision. Quantum torpedoes, phasing in and out of reality, bypassed shields and armor to detonate inside Council ships. Command vessels vanished in brilliant flashes as their reactors overloaded. Communication satellites disintegrated under particle beam fire. Within moments, the mighty Council armada became a confused mass of individual ships, unable to coordinate their response. On Nexus Prime's surface, High Counselor Vextar watched his tactical displays fill with error messages and loss indicators. Impossible, he gasped, tentacles writhing in distress. Their entire fleet was in Earth space. Our intelligence confirmed it. Sir, a terrified aide reported, we're detecting quantum signatures. The humans have developed phase shift technology. Our sensors can't lock onto their ships until they fire. The Council had based their entire strategy on technological superiority. They hadn't considered that humanity might have surpassed them. For 3 decades, humans had studied every piece of alien technology they encountered, improving upon designs that other species considered perfected. Launch all fighters. Admiral Kritek of the Kritak fleet commanded. Swarm them with numbers. Millions of fighter craft poured from Council carriers, filling space with a deadly cloud of small attack vessels. The human response revealed another technological surprise. Swarm drones, each no larger than a basketball, deployed by the millions. These AI-controlled weapons formed intelligent networks, adapting their tactics in real time to counter enemy movements. Admiral Mitchell reported, Council forces are attempting to regroup around the 4th moon. They're forming a defensive sphere. Zhang smiled grimly. Show them why that's a mistake. Deploy the gravity hammers. Specialized human vessels moved forward, their exotic matter projectors creating localized gravitational anomalies. Council ships found themselves pulled inexorably together, shields failing as they collided. The defensive sphere became a death trap as vessels crashed into each other, unable to escape the artificial gravity wells. In the Council chambers, emergency sessions convened as panicked representatives tried to comprehend the scope of the disaster. The Shard Ambassador's crystalline form flickered erratically. This is impossible. Humans don't possess this level of technology. Ambassador Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, transmitted from her position with the human fleet. You made a critical error, honored Council members. You assumed our peaceful nature meant we weren't preparing for war. Every smile, every treaty, every trade agreement. We used them all to study your weaknesses. Please, Vextar pleaded. His earlier arrogance evaporated. We can negotiate. The attack on Earth hasn't launched yet. We can recall our forces. The time for negotiation passed when you conspired to destroy us, Chen replied coldly. But we're not the monsters you believed us to be. Surrender unconditionally, and we'll spare your civilian populations. Continue fighting, and we'll dismantle your entire military infrastructure. Pride, the same pride that had led them to underestimate humanity, prevented immediate surrender. Several Council species launched desperate counterattacks, throwing their reserve fleets into battle. The humans responded with weapons that defied conventional physics. Temporal disruptors aged Council ships by centuries in seconds, causing them to crumble from structural fatigue. Quantum string projectors sliced through matter at the subatomic level, cutting dreadnoughts in half with invisible blades. Nanite swarms devoured entire squadrons, converting enemy vessels into raw materials for human construction drones. "My God," whispered a junior officer on the Retribution's bridge. "We're not fighting a battle. This is an execution." Admiral Zhang turned to address his crew. "Remember why we're here. They plan to subjugate Earth, to make slaves of our children. We offered them peace, and they answered with betrayal. This ends now, and it ends forever." The systematic destruction continued for 6 hours. Council fleets around 7 different star systems faced simultaneous attacks from human forces they hadn't known existed. Military installations on hundreds of worlds fell to precision strikes. The infrastructure that had maintained Council dominance for 10,000 years crumbled in a single day. But humanity's true superiority showed not in their weapons, but in their strategy. Unlike the Council's indiscriminate attacks, every human strike targeted military assets exclusively. Civilian centers remained untouched. Hospital ships received safe passage. When Council crews abandoned their doomed vessels, human ships moved to rescue survivors. "Sir," Commander Mitchell reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from 60% of remaining Council forces. The Kretak and Meros fleets are standing down. And the others? The Shards and 3 minor species are still fighting. They're retreating toward the Vega cluster." Zhang made his decision quickly. "Let them go. Broadcast on all frequencies. Any Council forces that continue to resist will be destroyed. Those who surrender will be treated according to the Geneva Conventions, Extended Galactic Edition." The remaining Council holdouts faced a choice: surrender or annihilation. One by one, they chose survival. By hour 8 of the battle, space around Nexus Prime was littered with the debris of thousands of ships. But the fighting had ceased. In the ruins of the Council chambers, the surviving representatives gathered to hear humanity's terms. Ambassador Chen stood before them, no longer the lone delegate they had tried to intimidate, but the spokesperson for the dominant military power in the galaxy. "The Galactic Council, as constituted, is dissolved," she announced. "A new confederation will be established based on genuine equality and mutual respect. No species will hold permanent seats or veto powers. Military actions will require unanimous consent from all members." "And if we refuse?" asked the Vextar, though his voice held no real defiance. "Then you'll face isolation. Your hyperspace access will be restricted to your home systems. Your colonies will declare independence under human protection. You'll become footnotes in galactic history." The choice was no choice at all. Over the following days, the former Council members signed the Earth Concordat, establishing new principles for interstellar relations. Humanity, despite its overwhelming victory, claimed no new territories and demanded no tributes. They asked only for guarantee of peace and the right of all species to develop freely. Admiral Zhang stood with Ambassador Chen as they watched the signing ceremony from the Retribution's observation deck. "Think they've learned their lesson?" Chen smiled sadly. "For a generation, perhaps 2. But someone will eventually forget why humans chose to appear weak for so long. Someone will mistake our kindness for vulnerability. And then we'll remind them. But hopefully, the memory of today will prevent that necessity." As the human fleet began its journey home, the galaxy processed the implications of what had occurred. Earth had revealed itself not as conquerors, but as guardians. They had shown overwhelming force, then immediately extended mercy. They had destroyed a corrupt system and replaced it with something better. The Council had awakened Earth's full war power, expecting to face primitive aggression. Instead, they encountered something far more dangerous. A species that had learned from both its mistakes and triumphs. that could be brutal in war yet magnanimous in victory. In the years that followed, the Battle of Nexus Prime would be studied by military academies across the galaxy. Not for its tactical brilliance, though that was considerable, but for the lesson it taught. Never confuse a desire for peace with an inability to wage war. Humanity had proven they excelled at both. The betrayed had become the victors, but more importantly, they had chosen to be builders rather than destroyers. The Council's betrayal had awakened Earth's warrior spirit, but it was humanity's deeper nature, their capacity for forgiveness, and their vision for a better future that truly reshaped the galaxy.